For this lesson, we're going to study the way masculinity is portrayed in art and the roles that are prescribed to men. So the first category we're looking at is that of a powerful leader. The first work of art is the portrait of the Count Duke of Olivares on horseback by Velázquez. Now, the Count Duke, in fact, was probably the most powerful man in the kingdom at the time, even though he was not the king. The king was a mere child, and Olivares had taken advantage of the situation and made himself his prime minister, his number one advisor. And in that position, he grew increasingly powerful. He, in fact, commissioned this portrait of being on horseback, which was considered a real symbol of power and was usually only reserved for portraits of the monarchy. But he commissioned this portrait by Velázquez, who was the number one painter in Spain at the time. And notice how the horse is rearing up, again, in a position of power. There's a battle in the background that he is clearly directing, but he and his horse take up the entire picture plane. So this is definitely a portrait of power. The statue, the African statue of Chibinda Yunga, is also a portrait of power. Chibinda Yunga is actually a god that represents the ancestors of the Chokwa people. And he is the seminal figure of what a king should be like. He is powerful. He is a leader. He is a warrior. And he represents the archetypal chief who maintains the well-being of his people. He keeps them safe. And he is also a role model for men in Chokwe society. This sculpture, we can see his physical strength. He wears the ram horns. He has two powerful spears in his hands. He has a hunter's body, but he also has an intelligent face of a leader. The second role we're going to look at is idealized beauty of the athletic figure. So first we have the statue, the Greek statue of the 2nd century AD, the bronze, and it is a discus thrower. He is about to release his throw. So we see him in this very athletically intelligent body. He exudes energy, and his body is very well proportioned, which in Greek was called symmetria. And he is captured at the moment of harmony and balance, which the Greek called rhythmos. So this is really the idealized figure of the Greek. This later was idealized during the Renaissance, as we see in Michelangelo's David, where David is also very athletic. He emulates this physical ability because he's about to defeat Goliath, a man much larger than himself. He has a look of determination, and this also demonstrates sort of this idealization of a man who is determined. He is bold, he has courage, he knows where he's going, he knows what he is doing. He has a lot of muscle tone in his upper body where his strength is. And he is in motion. Also, you see he is about to put the rock in his sling as he stands in this contrapposto stance, which is typical of Greek and Roman statues and which Renaissance sculptors emulated. The third category is that of strength and the warrior. This fabulous painting by Jacques-Louis David of the Oath of the Horatii is also based on a Roman story. It shows three brothers, the Horatius brothers, that are holding up their swords because they are about to go into battle. As I said, this is a Roman legend involving a conflict between the Romans and a rival group of nearby Alba. They decided that they would not have a full-out war, but they would resolve their conflicts by having just three warriors from each side fight each other, and that would resolve the conflict. So these men are going into almost certain death. But it is a great honor to have been chosen. We see the men are portrayed very geometrically. Their legs form triangles. There is a triangle between their legs and their arms. And the swords also are very geometric. They exude the stance of warriors and strength. In contrast, the women to the right are very organic and rounded, and they're portrayed as very emotional. They do not have the strength of the warrior. Here we see some samurai armor from 18th century Japan. Every piece was made exquisitely from the finest material. These suits not only served in battle, because at the time Japan had really entered a very peaceful time period, and so the suit now became a symbol of the samurai or warrior's status within society.